welcome to the Fireside Chat. It is my pleasure to bring you our very special guest, Nyeka from Austin, Texas. She's a mother of two who has been known to rock a megaphone at a rally or two, making sure her voice and the voices of her community are heard. I'm excited for this conversation. Nyeka, welcome to the Fireside Chat. We are glad you are here.
Glad I'm here, y'all. I have a whole lot of energy. Thank you all for having me and sharing this space with me. Whatever space I walk into, I want to be able to feel it with my energy. Despite where I am, what environment, who I'm around, what occupation, I want to be able to feel it with my energy. I want to be able to take up space.
For those who have never been to Austin, Texas, what is it like? Why do you have so much passion for your Austin community?
Austin, Texas, my city, the heart of Texas, capital of Texas. You know, I have so much love for my city because I was born here. I was raised here. It's who made me. You know, growing up, I used to see all kinds of colors. You know, when I mean by that, all kinds of people. We were a village. We were a family. That's one thing I love about Austin, and I can, you know, express to people that never been to Austin what the experience. You're going to experience all kind of things. That's why they say keep Austin weird in a good way, though.
I love the energy. You currently work at Texas Health and Human Services. What do you do there?
I work at the Community Care Eligibility Service. This is my second week working here. I love it. Basically, I just bridge the gap for individuals that are elderly or disabled. If they need resources as far as emergency response systems, if you fall, you need to push that button, Meals on Wheels, caregiver, all kind of resources. We just bridge that gap.
Why this line of work? Why did you want this as a job?
It's what I do naturally. I help people, I provide resources. I've been doing that as a kid to a grown woman. But after having a second child and going through what I went through, I was like, okay, now it's time I at least get paid for my work so I can be able to take care of my babies, be more sustainable as far as benefits and things like that.
Now, you mentioned it a little bit, having your second child. Let's go ahead and talk about Omari and Magic. Can you share a little bit about your son and your daughter?
Omari is my 10-pound baby boy. He is 7 years old. He's my everything. He's light. He's nurturing. He's patient. He's my teacher. I love him so much. Magic, that's my beautiful baby girl. She's 5 months. That's my, the girls, when they say the girls give you the most trouble, it's true. Listen, she's my everything. She keeps me humble. She keeps me grounded. She keeps me healing. Yes, after having her 5 months ago, unfortunately, I had to undergo 3 surgeries. I had a C-section with her, but I had to have a blood transfusion, internal bleeding, and it was a lot going on. And I was like, you know what? Hey, I don't feel right. They didn't listen to me. And then I started bringing that activism out of me. And I was like, hey, listen to me. Something's not right. And they was like, okay, well, listen, long story short, my kids have continued to build me and mold me into a great woman.
What I know you said that activism came out on you. When did you recognize that, hey, my voice is not being heard in this moment?
There was a nurse. They come and touch your stomach after you give birth every 30 minutes to 15 minutes, just depending how severe the birth was. When the lady came and touched my stomach, I grabbed her hand as a reaction. And I was like, hold on, that's touching my stomach this time hurts to the extreme. Like, I don't want anything touching it. And that's when I asked her, what are the signs of internal bleeding? And she was like, it's sensitive to touch. And I was like, well, hey. And then after that, I stood up for the first time after having a C-section, and I felt like I was about to pass out. I couldn't breathe or anything. And that's when I was like, well, we ran labs and you didn't lose that much blood on the operating table. So we don't know where your blood is or what's going on. So next, I have to have that blood transfusion. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm not being heard.
What kind of reaction did that get when you did decide to exercise your voice?
I didn't get that nurse anymore. I was making sure no one could take care of my baby better than me. So I need to be able to be alive to be able to take care of my baby. So when I start voicing my opinion, They switched nurses, and I was able to get a nurse that can accommodate my needs and listen to me, actually be a nurse.
Can we go back to you being so energetic about Austin, and it's where you grew up? Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Tell us about growing up in Austin.
I'm gonna give y'all a little knowledge, a little history. One of the first projects built in America is located in Austin, and it's called Rosewood Courts, and it's located off Rosewood. And about 2 miles, not even 2 miles away from that project, from the first project built in America, I lived in a project called Mesa Manor Projects, one of the worst projects located in Austin, Texas, if y'all not familiar with it. I grew up in a project, so I was in a disenfranchised, marginalized community, and my parents abused drugs. One of my parents still abuse drugs to this day, and one of my parents been clean for over 20 years. Beautiful. So being in an environment where your family is addicted and abusing drugs, you get exposed to a lot of things that can cause trauma and triggers and things like that. Me and my brothers and sister, my mom has 3 kids by the same man. So unfortunately, my mom and dad did end up going in and out of jail, and we were being displaced in different family members' houses, and sometimes just people we knew across the street for a long time. And during those processes, some people were good to us and some people weren't good to us. But eventually, once my mom got out of jail and got on her feet, she's been clean, been working, and she showed us that, yes, we went through this, but it's a testimony. We don't have to wear it. If we continue to wear it, then that's what we're going to continue to attract. So let's use our pain and turn it into power. So going through middle school, transitioning out of that kind of toxic environment, we were able to transition into something more sustainable and security. And that really kind of made me into the woman I am, just being able to experience that and then being able to see the power of experience.
You mentioned you had 6 generations of your family living in Austin. Can you walk us through that?
I found out when I was 3 months pregnant, going through morning sickness. I was just stuck in bed, throwing up. And I was like, well, I need to do something. When you're an activist, you can't sit still. So I started researching about my family. And it was a book called From a Prince to a Slave that stood out to me about their former ancestors, slave owner descendants, and our ancestor descendants met in this book. So I was like, well, I may not say this verbatim, but Martin Luther King, like, one day we should be able to sit at the table across from, all that good stuff. So I read the book. Long story short, I was like, well, the Hills, St. John's. I was like, well, there's a St. John's in Austin, Texas. Let me see if it's relevant. And it was. So long story short, I got the book, told all my siblings. We went to Bastrop, Texas, to Hills Prairies. I think it's called Hills Prairie. And it's a plantation where the 6 generations lived. And they migrated from there after slavery. And they my grandfather, Reverend John Henry Wynn, he led 14 families to 2,200 acres. They all got their money together and bought the acres. And this was in Caldwell County, like Lockhart from Bastrop. And then after they established that, which is called St. John's Colony now, they migrated to Austin, which is kind of like the old Weberville. It's Austin. And now that community named after him is called St. John's Community. So he has a community named after him. And within that community, they had an orphanage with 200 Black kids, girls and boys. And people like Booker T. Washington will come out and they'll sit out there for 2 weeks and they'll speak, they'll talk, they'll educate people. Unfortunately, the orphanage got turned into Holly Mall, and Holly Mall got turned into ACC. But it's a community that's still striving and still holding on to their land as we speak, which is great. And just being able to do that research and being able to say, hey, my grandfather led 14 people and he, established this colony over here. I was like, well, that's where I get it.
Thank you for the history lesson. You have to have I can see a sense of confidence just flowing from you just talking about that. When you learned that and when you did the research and your siblings did the research, did you feel a deeper sense of connection to your community?
Yes. I went live. I took pictures. I let everybody know what happened. Next thing you know, the whole community, my family. Oh, we the Mackey family, or we the this family, we the this family that lived over. The whole Austin is my family.
I love that. Could you share, say, one of the happiest memories you have about growing up in Austin?
The happiest memories I have was going to Givens Park. It was a park for the youth. You know, we go out there, we play kickball, we play soccer, basketball. Givens Park Recreation was actually named after this Black doctor. He sued the city for discrimination, and he won. And now there's a park named after him. And it's basically, the park was built because there was another park during segregation that was it was raggedy for Blacks. So he was able to establish this park called Givens Park. And that park was just filled with everything. Once some of our first jobs, we go there to sign up for the City of Austin Youth Work. And right now, it's not one of my favorite places anymore, only because of the gentrifications that's taking place, which is causing us to be displaced, lack of resources, and it also increases the violence in the area as well for our children and our family and just everyone. And that's one thing that I just wanted to identify, because it used to be my safe space, but now it's not, due to a number of things. And that happened within 10 years. Well, 15. Wow. I won't say my age.
You said lack of resources, and we hear that a lot. And I would just be curious what you mean by resources, lack of resources.
What I mean by lack of resources is food insecurities. There's a lot of redlining when it comes to applying for resources, as far as household size, income, ID, social documents, all these things that you need to get the resources, not knowing that there's resources out there. For example, they'll sit out vote for me signs, but they won't come knock on your door and say, hey, this is a rental assistance or utility assistance, or we don't even have the assistance to get assistance for resources. You know, it's just me. Like, for example, Texas Rent Relief just opened and I just started working, but at the same time on the clock, I'm still letting everybody know that I know, hey, go apply for these funds. They're free funds. Get your rent paid, get your utilities paid, all of that. And then there's also double standards at the same time. You know, as women of color, you will want to be able to get these resources because we need them. And then there's our counterparts that have access to these resources, and it's not questions, there's no redlinings, they get them. And it's hard, and it sucks.
Thank you for explaining that to me that way. I really appreciate that. You know, I know there were a bunch of different layers to your experience, your lived experience. So I'd like to switch it up, especially because you know you have so much energy and all of that. Let's do a little word association in hopes that maybe you'd share something from your life for each word or phrase that I give you that you currently walk with. Ready for that? Can we do that?
Yeah.
The first one, let's go motherhood.
Motherhood is unconditional. Motherhood has its struggles. Motherhood has its awards. Motherhood has its triggers and trauma, but it also have its light too. You know, I love motherhood. Motherhood keeps me going. There's nothing else besides me and my higher self that keeps me going but motherhood. Sometimes, some situations, I can't even do it for myself. I have to do it for my parents. That's what it means.
What about protests or activism?
Protest to me means I'm stepping into my power. That was the first time I stepped into my power. I did God's calling, and I spoke what was on my mind and my heart, and I didn't feel bad. I didn't say, oh, I'm gonna get a repercussion or consequences for this. So protest is me really fully standing in my power.
Healing.
Healing is a journey for me that I'm going to be on for the rest of my life. Healing is unconditional. And mark my words, you will never, everybody on the screen, you will never be completely healed. We have to just continue to make healthier choices so we could continue to heal. That's what healing means to me.
What about ice storm?
That ice storm broke me down. But in the middle of me breaking down, my son I picked him up so he can be with me. And he said, he seen all the work I was doing. And he was like, Mom, you're a superhero. And let me just break it down. During the ice storm, I took the initiative to go assist the unhoused individuals. And we didn't know in Texas, Austin, Texas, that it was going to affect the entire community. We just thought it was going to affect the unhoused. So we immediately was able to try to create a short structure plan, a disaster plan. It didn't work out. So after that, we all different organizations, you know, like We Can Now, Austin Area Urban League in Austin, we all got together and we were like, okay, we just got to move them. We just got to get them from under the bridge, take them to the warmer shelters. And, you know, and they were like, Nyeka, we may even have hotel vouchers. And I don't know why they told me that, because I told everybody I got hotel vouchers for everybody. So the individuals were like super stuck on the hotel vouchers. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use the in me that God gave me and be like, I'm not leaving nowhere until these humans get hotels and vouchers now, period. They got, and out of nowhere, they got hundreds of people vouchers. Thank God, because I have to use that. I go to the hotel. That wasn't the only barrier. We got the vouchers, but now we got to deal with the clerks and individuals at the hotels that are looking at me and these unhoused people like we're crazy. We don't want you here. So I have to use my power again and was like, well, we ain't going nowhere until y'all get us some rooms. Call the police. It's fine. We'll sit here. They got them rooms. And I was able to stay at a room for 2 weeks, me and my children, me and my child, being liaisons. You know, with my experience in my life, I've been around individuals with drugs, addictions, domestic violence, all of that. It comes naturally. So I know how to deal with those situations. I was the liaison over there for 2 weeks and helping people, getting them fed every day, 3 meals a day, with extra work from organizations, you know, making sure they have the right medicine just in case they feeling like they want to go ahead and abuse drugs, making sure they're not abusing drugs, catching people abusing drugs, trying to de-escalate the issue before the police try to make it worse than what it is. You already know how we already have to deal with the police. So going through just that and just hearing someone call me like, hey, Nyeka, what you did, they're going to turn a whole hotel, or they're going to try to find some sustainable housing for the unhoused. It took 2 years from the snowstorm, but they are in the process of doing that. So I love the fact that I did that. And it took me to do it first for all the other organizations and individuals to step up and say, hey, Nyeka's out there to 2, 3 in the morning in a van that got in a wreck and still going to help her community and these unhoused people. We got to step up. Nyeka is just Nyeka. She's not even in a van, her car. She's in another organization van. So if she can do it, then we can do it. So we was able to create our own system without the police, the ambulance, the help from the city of Austin or anything, and create a distribution center to distribute water, clothes, baby food, wipes, whatever was in need. We kept that going for 2, 3 weeks in different spots. I was so happy to be a part of that. I was so happy to start that.
And just for context,
wait.
Nyeka's referencing the 2021 ice storm, correct?
Yes, and I moved 4% of the population by myself, the unhoused population by myself.
How tough was that? How challenging was it to get other community members involved? Or was it fairly easy once you started talking about it?
Oh, no, it was not easy at first. When we wanted to get everyone involved, everybody looked at it like, it's not going to be that bad. And let me just say this. When we were out there trying to get the unhoused individuals to leave their home or their area, they were like, oh, we're good. It's not going to be that bad. We know how I usually go. They had a whole routine. And we were like, no, it's going to be bad. So no one expected it to be that bad. But once we found out, we started downloading apps so we could be able to communicate with each other better. we had a debriefing like, hey, we need to communicate better. So the only thing I think we should have worked on was communication.
Yeah, and that wasn't your first bit of activism. You got the previous year in 2020, a protest with more than 60,000 people or a rally to the Capitol. Can you shed some light on that?
Absolutely. The rally at the Capitol was up at Houston-Tillotson University, the first university in Austin, established in Austin. It was majority Black people went there, HBCU. So the event took place there, and right there, that energy there just gave me the. And it wasn't 60,000 people at first when we were speaking and, giving our speeches and our emotions, pouring them out, because that was just at the tip of George Floyd dying. And I don't want to take anything away from George Floyd dying, but in Austin, Texas, I've seen people get killed, get shot by the police. Everything you could think of in Austin, Texas, the APD does it. And it's to the extreme. It was almost every year. I know family, I know friends that have died in the police hands. So when I went to there, I was definitely shedding light on George Floyd, but I wanted to put the light on our family and friends that was in the city that we had lost, like Mike Ramos, Alex Gonzalez, Landon Nobles. I can keep the list going. So after that event that took place at Houston-Tillotson, we started marching to the Capitol, which is probably like a mile walk, close to a mile walk. And by the time we got to I-35 in I-35 intersection, I turned around. It was kind of like a hill. I turned around and it was just so surreal that the whole street was full of people. And I'm telling you, it was probably over 60,000. All the celebrities shared it on their platform. Christina Milian, Ice Cube. It was on all platforms of that image of 60,000 people in Austin, Texas, coming together against police violence. So that right there was like, it was history. Great being a part of history.
What does it feel like? I've seen pictures of you standing in front of a crowd, holding the microphone, holding the megaphone. And what does it feel like to stand in front of that crowd and see that your words are impacting the community, a community of diverse people, diverse backgrounds, and they're hearing you, they're seeing you, and they're actually taking action, they're agreeing with you? How's that feel?
Honestly, it comes close to feeling like if they're sharing my experience with me, and that feels good. It's not about just getting up there and talking. When I get up there and talk, I speak from experience. Always. I'm real big. You'll always hear me say experience, because that's something I don't lack. So when I get up there and I'm speaking my experience, pouring out my power, and people are accepting it, relating to it, or acknowledging or identifying things while I'm speaking at, it makes me feel like I'm being listened to.
I imagine that your lived experience gives you a type of perspective to kind of see some of the systemic issues facing Austin right now. Could you share? Could you name a few?
I feel like the whole system is the issue. From my experience with the problems in Austin and the system, is like I said, the red lining when it comes to resources, being stereotyped, by people in the system, being judged by people in the system. How can you trust the system? We got to create our own system. It's been against us. Let's start, for instance, the 1927 master plan was created in Austin, Texas. And it's basically a document that encloses how they segregated Austin, the Blacks and the Hispanics from the whites. And I-35 segregates Austin. Mind you, they forced the Blacks and Browns over there, turned off electricity, water, everything they had resources to put them in that area called the east side of Austin. Now we're being forced out of this same area that they forced us in because of gentrification. So my great-grandma's house just got sold this year. I took care of her in that house till she died. And that area was in a prone zone, flood zone area, bad area. But they bought that house more than what she was paid. And now they live out, and my aunt that was living in the house, she lives way in Georgetown. And she wasn't able to access resources so she can keep that house. It was designed so she can be displaced and sell it. It was designed so we don't have any kind of land or ownership, the same land that we died on, shed blood, sweat, and tears on. The system in our school, I was a part of the long range planning committee last year for AISD. We broke record bonds when I'm to billions of dollars. We accumulated billions of dollars last year. But now we don't have a superintendent. They left because they weren't pouring into that individual. And he was Black. The first Black superintendent history didn't even stay for 6 months. So now we're back in meeting superintendents. Like I said, I've been working for 2 weeks. This is my second week. But I've applied for rental assistance. So when you apply for rental assistance, yes, they want to be all in your business. They want to know if you're single or married, who lives with you. They want to know how many people are living in your house. Do you got income? They want to be all up in your business just to give you $100, $200, $300. And it's not even sustainable or continuing resources. It's a one-time resource that we have to go through. Go through all that just to get one-time resources. It's so many things that I can think of that's so messed up within our system in Austin. It's disgusting.
I appreciate you sharing that, sharing the insights and even some of the recommended changes. Let's switch gears just a little bit, because I know you're passionate about your community, but you're also passionate about writing. You have a self-published book, but Stay Healing. What was the purpose of that book, and what did that mean to you? What made you do that?
I actually wrote that book this year, right after I had my child. And honestly, I have a pet peeve of trying to be in control of everything. I know I'm not the only one on here. Y'all be trying to be in control of everything too. But anyway, I had to relinquish that behavior because I want to heal. I want to heal. And then it took me like, oh my God, I'm never going to heal. And I was like, well, that's a good thing. And I was like, well, if everybody knows that they're never going to heal, they won't drive themselves crazy trying to heal from their childhood or a relationship or anything that they go through. You know, and I was like, let me put that in my own words, create some dialogue and put it on a piece of paper. I was like, you know what? There's a divide with paper, so let me make it an ebook, a digital ebook. So I was like, I did the digital ebook, and it's a book called Stay Healing. And basically it talks about your journey of healing, being in that sunken place and how to get out that sunken place. And the sunken place is when you're in that dark space in your life and you don't want to get out of bed. You're in that sunken place, you know, and I have to identify, like, if I go to that sunken place for 5 minutes, that's okay as long as I get out of it. So I wanted to provide tools to people that they can use off of my experience to apply to their daily life. Like, okay, it's okay to be in this dark place as long as I don't stay there. Okay, if it's light, it is dark. I just got to learn how to deal with the dark. Okay. I'm a God, but I do got demons. I got to learn how to control my demons. So it just gives you a breakdown of digesting your thoughts, your minds, your emotions, your inner child, your trauma. And if you want to purchase the book, go to www.thehealingprojectatx.org.
You first connected with us through the UpTogether Equity Fund, established years ago to support Black leaders across the country working on paid or unpaid initiatives for their community. You received an unrestricted cash investment. Do you remember how you learned of UpTogether at that time? And if you care, how you use that cash payout?
This young lady named Sister Christina Muhammad, she is one of the founders of the 10,000 Fearless First Responders. And they're basically a Muslim group that does security for other nonprofit organizations. So she told me about it when we were working in a snowstorm. So I went ahead and I applied for the fund. And I was like, okay, they asked me some information, but I don't think it's true. I was like, I'm just gonna apply and see what it is. She told me, but I had to see for myself. So I applied, I got approved, and the funds was distributed to me. And what I did with those funds, I distributed to families in need. I broke it down $20, $25. And I told them to request it via Cash App. So when they will request it out, they'll say for diapers or milk or for gas during a snowstorm or electricity or just anything that they needed during a snowstorm. So I was able to distribute it to them. I was able to also go to Target and purchase milk, diapers, wipes, anything essential for the children. After I was able to distribute that and provide them with those essential needs, I was left over with some funds, and I did something with my son for holding it down with me during the snowstorm.
I love that. I love that. And how did it feel knowing that you didn't have to jump through hoops in order to receive it, and it wasn't something that you needed to pay back? You could choose to spend it however you wanted.
Man, I felt like somebody was pouring into my power. It felt good. It felt like somebody believed in what I wanted to do. A lot of people are not grassroots leaders. A lot of people do different things, but it's a lot of people that's not actually doing the work behind the talk. And I am. And sometimes it gets hard. Sometimes it sucks when you don't have anything to give them. Being able to give them something, a piece of me, that's a feeling that lasts forever.
Oh, I love that. Pouring into my power. And you've said before, you even said it in this conversation, and we even had it in a story on the Pulse, the UpTogether stories that featured you. Just you mentioned about the way that we amplify your story is different. Can you share a little bit more about that?
And it broke me down in tears because no one has ever poured into my power word for word, telling it how I'm telling it. I'm looking at it like, oh my God, this person is amazing. Like, I love that. That was amazing. I love that. When I say pour into my power, I mean pour into my strength, pour into the beauty, pour into the light side. That'll motivate people so they can attract that same thing. Don't pour into my pain. I don't wear that anymore. So why are you trying to wear it? Why you want everybody else to wear it? I want to be poured into. So it can be many Nyekas running around, not my pain running around. You know what I'm saying?
Really appreciate your time carving out this space to take up space with us today for the Fireside Chat. Nyeka, thank you so much for your input and your story, and being vulnerable with us and bringing the energy. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank y'all so much. Last night I said, I'm not gonna cry because I cry ugly, and I was like, I don't want to be on YouTube, no ugly cry. But thank y'all so much.